Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Alex Marquez accepted the reality of the 2025 title fight. Even a near-perfect campaign would likely not have been enough to topple his older brother Marc. Speaking after the Indonesian Grand Prix, the Gresini Ducati rider reflected on a season in which he emerged as the closest challenger but was ultimately eclipsed by Marc's historic level of dominance. Rather than bitterness, Alex expressed pride and perspective, calling it an honor to battle one of the sport's all-time greats. Andrea Dovizioso, now a Yamaha advisor and the face of the new series Dovi, the series, reflected on Marc Márquez's current dominance and its effects across the paddock. Speaking after the show's launch, Dovizioso praised Márquez's extraordinary consistency while warning that the Spaniard's presence can unbalance rivals and garages alike. His verdict: beyond technical explanations, Márquez's arrival at Ducati has a psychological impact that teams must manage. Alberto Vergani, speaking to Pone after Ducati's turbulent Indonesian and Japanese weekends, delivered blunt counsel for Pecco Bagnaia and a calm assessment of the factory's mood. He praised Marc Márquez's sporting response to the Mandalika incident, warned that Bagnaia is suffering from expectation and comparison, and urged the champion to refocus on riding rather than obsessing over what other Ducatis are doing. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Alex didn't hide the errors that cost him this year, crashes in the Netherlands and at Brno among them, but he was clear those mistakes weren't the full story. Even erasing those setbacks, he believes Marc's form and consistency were simply on another plane. I think making our things in a perfect situation couldn't be enough to fight with Marc or to win the title. It's a mature appraisal from a rider who has been leading the chase for much of the season. Identifying limits honestly is part of elite development. Marc's numbers tell the tale. Double-digit Grand Prix wins and an avalanche of sprint victories turned the championship into largely one-man show. Alex underscores that the sheer scale of Marc's points haul and record pace left little room for any rival, perfection or not. When a rival compiles unprecedented consistency and wins across diverse tracks and conditions, the gap becomes as much historical as tactical. Far from lamenting what might have been, Alex framed his challenge as a privilege. Racing and losing to someone operating at that peak is, in his words, an honor. That attitude reframes defeat as professional validation rather than personal failure. Competing against one of the best in history is something to be proud of. Such perspective can be stabilizing, especially for a younger rider with long career horizons. On top of family dynamics, Alex has other objectives. He clinched the independent rider title in Indonesia and has a strong hold on second in the championship. With a comfortable points buffer over Pecco Bagnaia, he can still score major personal milestones even if the overall crown is out of reach. Finishing the year as best of the rest is a tangible success and secures momentum heading into the off-season. The season's lessons for Alex are practical: minimize errors, sharpen pace where possible, and extract incremental gains. But psychologically, the campaign also reinforced resilience. Matching up repeatedly against Marc has clarified what it takes to join the very top. For a developing rider, a sustained duel with a dominant champion is one of the quickest ways to accelerate improvement. Alex Marquez's post-race honesty keeps the narrative human. He acknowledges mistakes, accepts limits, and yet draws pride from the year's highs. Beaten by a rider in exceptional form, he leaves the season with the consolation of hard-won personal milestones and a clear blueprint for getting closer. Should Marc's extraordinary run ever ease, Alex will be better positioned to exploit it. Dovizioso was unequivocal. Marquez has been ahead from the outset and sustained a level few riders reach. Where other eras saw alternating frontrunners, Marquez's form has been relentlessly consistent, and that consistency is what sets him apart. He was always ahead. With the others there was more alternation, with him there wasn't. The comment frames Marc as not just fast on a given weekend, but structurally dominant across seasons. Dovizioso identified Marquez's chief vulnerability as an inability to fully hold back, a trait that has produced breathtaking moves but also contributed to crashes, most notably the career-altering 2020 injury. That aggression is part of his greatness and his risk. He doesn't always know how to hold back, and that has cost him at times. The paradox is clear. Brilliance and fragility often share the same origin. Beyond pure pace, Dovizioso argued Marquez exerts a destabilizing force inside rival teams. His arrival at Ducati, he suggested, has added pressure beyond the bike's hardware, altering expectations, creating comparisons, and making it harder for teammates to feel secure in their setups. Beyond the technical issues, the reality is that Marc destabilizes. That psychological load can amplify small technical doubts into larger confidence crises. Dovizioso linked some of Pecco Bagnaia's troubles to this broader dynamic. Elite riders can be shaken when a team's internal balance shifts. He urged Ducati to support Bagnaia patiently and use the winter to rebuild trust between rider and machine. The factory can help him regain confidence in the bike by working with him in the winter. Technical fixes matter, but restoring a rider's self-belief often needs time, stability, and focused development work. Drawing on his own career, Dovizioso admitted he too felt his confidence tested by exceptional rivals and once contemplated stepping away. That memory informs his tone now, respect for Marquez's talent coupled with reassurance that riders and teams can recover. "I've met talents who put my self-esteem into crisis. It can happen, but anything can be turned around." Dovizioso's message is both realist and optimistic. Recognize the challenge, then methodically rebuild. Andrea Dovizioso's comments cut to the heart of a modern MotoGP truth. Dominance isn't only about lap times, it reshapes paddocks. Marquez's pace is a technical fact. His psychological footprint is the secondary effect that can unsettle rivals and complicate development cycles. Dovizioso urges a patient, structured response, technical work in the winter, steady support for riders like Bagnaia, and humility in the face of one of the generation's most destabilizing competitors. Vergani framed the recent races as mixed, sporting success tempered by emotionally charged episodes. He singled out the Mandalika contact and the human reactions that followed as emblematic of a team under public scrutiny. "It's been a double-edged weekend for Ducati. The balance," he implied, "must now swing back toward clarity and team unity." Vergani was unequivocal in commending Marquez and Bezzecchi for how they handled the fallout. He sees Marquez's attempt to defuse tensions and Bezzecchi's apology as signs of maturity that helped protect Ducati's image. He called it, "Great Marc," and applauded Bez for admitting his mistake and apologizing publicly. That composure is valuable when headlines and emotions threaten to overshadow technical work. Vergani diagnosed Bagnaia's recent slump as primarily psychological, a rider overwhelmed by internal and external comparisons after a hopeful run in Japan followed by disappointment. He warned that such pressure can fracture confidence faster than any mechanical fault. "I think Bagnaia is a victim of expectations. He fell into utter despair." For Vergani, the priority is emotional recovery as much as any setup tweak. Vergani's prescription was direct and practical. Bagnaia must stop obsessively watching the GP24/GP25 and return attention to his own riding. He argued that comparison steals focus and energy. 70% of performance, he reminded, is in the rider's head. Stop wasting time watching GP24 or GP25. By doing this, Pecco is losing himself. The appeal is for simple, present-focused work. Rediscover joy, rebuild confidence, session by session. Vergani stressed that Bagnaia's contract should reduce long-term pressure and allow him to rebuild in the present. He avoided predictions on renewals, urging patience, finish the season, then evaluate. He also suggested a possible upside, that surprises, like a strong Phillip Island, can change the narrative fast. He urged psychological stability and noted, Anything can happen in motorcycling. The message to Ducati is support and measured development, not knee-jerk change. Alberto Vergani offered a pragmatic, human-centered response to Ducati's moment of stress, praise where due, but urgent counsel where needed. By asking Bagnaia to stop comparing himself with other Ducatis and to reclaim the simple work of riding, Vergani put the spotlight back on confidence, focus and the small, patient gains that rebuild champions.